Welcome to the presentation on searching for innovative function solutions. This is one of the most important presentations or important parts of the concept development process. It's been shown that the best way to get a good design, an innovative design, is to think of as many solutions as you possibly can. The reason for that is the more you have in your collection, the better the chance that one of those is a good solution and in fact innovative solution. If you just generate 3 or 4 solutions, chances are you haven't even scratched the surface yet in terms of innovative solutions because you haven't thought about it enough. In industry, in design companies, this process takes days or weeks. It doesn't just take 5 minutes. So make sure you spend enough time on this so that you consider many different ideas and solutions for your design. And one way to do that is to not just concentrate on the particular problem you're working on, but think of other solutions that may be applicable in other situations that would apply to your particular design. So the way we're going to do this is to sort of force that issue and make sure that you're thinking of solutions for many different applications and applying them to your particular problem is to separate the problem into functions. And you've already done that when you did function decomposition. So we're going to continue the concept generation process now that you have done function decompositions. The next step is to generate solutions from the functions, not solutions for your whole idea, for your whole project. Don't think of a whole solution yet, but subdivide it into bite-sized chunks. It's a better chance that you'll come up with a great design if you do this than if you just think of solutions for the product itself as a whole. For example, if you're making a coffee maker, if you're designing a new coffee maker, don't think of ways to make coffee. Think of all the functions that go toward preparing coffee. You have to heat the water. You have to pass the water through the grounds somehow. You have to collect the coffee. You have to keep the coffee warm. You have to do something with the coffee grounds afterward, and you have to provide power to the system. So when you think of all these different functions, it just opens up a whole new world. For example, if you don't consider the function of providing power to the coffee pot, you might ignore the solution of using a solar reflector or a solar concentrator to heat the water. It's thinking outside the box like that that helps you come up with innovative solutions. I can't stress this enough. It's really important that you think about this and not just come up with the first thing that pops into your head, but actually think about it and come up with lots of solutions. So we're sort of forcing the issue by having you do function decomposition. And there are two ways to generate solutions. One is internally, using brainstorming, which is something in your head, obviously, and in your team. And there are other techniques you can use to sort of unblock your brain so brainstorming actually goes better. And we'll talk about those. Related stimuli, unrelated stimuli, wish and wonder, make analogies. Those things we'll talk about soon, and you can read those in your book. So I hope you've read the chapter and the pages on concept generation in the book before you watch this, or at least read it after you watch this. It's very illuminating and will give you all kinds of tricks on how to generate great ideas. So the second way you can do it is externally, which means external to your brain and external to your team. So go look outside yourself and outside your team. So look at your benchmarks. That's one of the best ways to do it. Look at your benchmarks and see how they solved every function that you're working with. And however they solved it is probably a pretty good way to do it. So list those ways that they solved it. You can also search patents, and we'll talk about that. You can also go talk to experts, talk to friends, search the internet, go to a do-it-yourself store like Home Depot or Lowe's, and just roam the aisles, and you'll come up with ideas that you never would have thought of otherwise. So to search internally, you do brainstorming, and I assume some of you have done brainstorming before, but it's important to do it in a way that's conducive to creativity. It's not something that you do just take 5 minutes to do. It's something that you need to actually sit and do for a long time, and until you actually run out of ideas. And when you run out of ideas, you need to go do something to unblock your brain to think of more ideas. So don't just give up after like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of brainstorming. And we'll talk about what to do in just a minute. So to do brainstorming, individuals in teams bounce ideas off of each other. It's important to do this in a team. It's important to do this out loud. It's important to write down your ideas on a board, on a whiteboard, or on something that everyone can see. So when you do that, or post-it notes, and put post-it notes up on the wall. When you do that, you'll be able to see all the ideas, and it's going to generate new ideas in your head when you look at all the ideas that have been generated. And when you hear somebody propose another idea, you'll start thinking of things that you, in your head, that may be related and may be better than what they came up with. So it's great. So suspend judgment when you're brainstorming. No criticism. There's a video on the next slide, I think, that I want you to watch. I don't think I want you to watch. I do want you to watch that talks about how to do brainstorming correctly. So when you run out of ideas, change your environment. Go visit a store, together or individually. Go for pizza. Get up and walk around. Anything you can do to change your environment is going to open up your brain to new ideas. It's a physiological fact that when you move around and when you change your environment, your view changes and you see things a little bit differently. So your goal is to generate lots of ideas and welcome ideas that are infeasible. So what's feasible? Feasible means it satisfies the constraints. So welcome ideas that don't satisfy your constraints. Don't be realistic here. Be outside the box. Think of what you might think are ridiculous solutions, because sometimes to get to a great solution, you have to go through a ridiculous solution, which then triggers in your brain something that actually is along the same line, but it might actually work and not be infeasible. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to suggest really weird things, and don't ever criticize your teammates when they're coming up with these ideas. Laugh. You can encourage it and just have fun. I recommend that you use graphical and physical media. Pick things up, hold them with your hands. You draw pictures, draw sketches, use post-it notes, use a whiteboard. Do anything you can to sort of be visual about it as well as auditory about it, about the process. So here are a bunch of solutions that someone came up with for storing or accepting energy. This is for the nail driver. So look at these for just a second and see if you think they all make sense. Gunpowder? Well, there are actually nail drivers that do use gunpowder, so that's not totally off the wall. What about these down here? Nuclear reactions and cold fusion. You might think that's pretty stupid to even suggest that, and maybe it is, but when you're brainstorming, stupid is good. Stupid and smart are both good, because if you come up with ideas that don't seem feasible like these, they may lead you to something else. Cold fusion may have led them to the next one, which is solar electric cells, which would lead them to the next one, which is solar steam conversion. So every time you come up with an idea, it's going to generate new ideas in your head. Here's a video I want you to watch on brainstorming done right. It has some great recommendations, and watch this before you do the brainstorming. It's only about 3 minutes long, and it's extremely valuable, I believe. So from the reading you did in the PDF that you should have done by now, or at least hopefully you will right after this, there are some other techniques to sort of jar your brain loose. So if you get stuck in brainstorming, you can do something called make analogies. I'm not going to read all the paragraph, but just the topics. Make analogies, wish and wonder, and user-related stimuli. Read these and use them when you're brainstorming. Other ones are use unrelated stimuli, set quantitative goals, so set a goal of how many concepts you want to come up with, and don't stop until you get there, and that will generate some, be a little bit brave and suggest more than you think you can actually generate. Use the gallery method. You can read these in the book. So that's search internally. That's internal to your team and into your head. You also want to search externally. So go to your benchmark matrix and look to see how other people have solved the problem you're working on, and write down the solutions that they've found and that they've used for each of the functions. Also, don't search related designs. That means it doesn't have to be the exact product you're working on. So if you're working on, in this case, nail guns, one of the nail gun functions you're working on is accelerate the mass. The mass in this case is a nail, but it could be any mass. So anytime anyone has done any solution for accelerating a mass, like airbags accelerate a mass. They accelerate the airbag toward your body and toward your face. Air rifles accelerate. Explosives, rocket science, race cars, railgun, all those things do acceleration. So explore outside of the realm of your product. Be a little be a little brave and go outside and look at other products you think that use the same function to do something maybe different, but you might be able to use that same function in your design. Also search patents. That's a great bag of ideas is the patent search office, and there's a patent search link within ASU. In fact, if you go to, you can search the patent database by going to ASU libraries and clicking on research databases. You can see that on this slide, research databases. And then there's an alphabetical list of database titles. So click on the P for patent. And when you click on that, you'll see a whole list. And one of those is called the patent lens. If you click on it and you connect, you'll go to the patent lens. There's what it looks like. And you can search for full text patents. So I typed in smokeless stoves, I believe. Next slide, smokeless cooking stove is what I typed in. And here's some patents that popped up. Smokeless electric cooker, indoor smokeless grill, smokeless cooking stove, etc. So you can go directly to these by clicking the blue US patent number, and it will let you download a PDF file and you can look at it. And here's example one. This is for a smokeless cooking stove. And it's basically, it looks like a hibachi, charcoal hibachi that they've designed to actually catch the drippings so they don't land on the coals and they don't smoke. That's not necessarily what you're going to look for, but it may trigger some ideas in your head of things you'd never thought of before. So patent database searching is a great source of ideas. Like I said before, you want to fill the funnel. You typically, hopefully, will have hundreds of ideas. If you don't have hundreds, hopefully you'll have 20 or 25 ideas for each function. And when you come up with lots of ideas, the question you might have is, when have I searched enough? Well, there are ways to sort of look at the whole domain of what you're searching and see if you've searched all the possible branches. And by branches, I mean use something called a concept classification tree, which helps you explore systematically. Here's an example of one. This is a concept combination tree. The function is to store or accept energy, and it's divided up into ways, physical ways to store or accept energy: chemical, pneumatic, hydraulic, electrical, nuclear. I think there are probably some other ones that are not here that you might want to add. Electromagnetic, it would be one. Maybe that's part electrical, but there are probably some other ones you might want to add. And then you follow the branches and see if you've covered. And if you haven't covered them, like pneumatic and hydraulic, for example, and nuclear have not been covered, you might want to brainstorm on just those solutions to see if you can come up with a solution that's pneumatic, hydraulic, or nuclear. So in summary, write down the overall function of your product, decompose into subfunctions, which you should have already done. Brainstorm solutions for each function using searching externally and searching internally in the methods I just went over. Construct the concept combination table and choose combinations of solutions as design concepts.